Fran has item B51. I don't know what. Are you referring to what's listed as item 15? Where's Fran?
Here.
Are you referring to what's listed as item 15?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay, yeah.
Item 15. Is that there? Okay. Carrie Ryan has item 15 maybe and item 16. So Carrie, go ahead.
I'm here because I'm not super happy with the way you've led our community through this. I think you've talked out of both sides of your mouth. I think you've given people wishy-washy information. We might do this, we might do that. I don't know if you've ever written a grant. Have you talked to the DOT about this, or are you just using, yeah?
Yes.
When? What grant?
Well, you have to speak first.
I'm speaking.
Go ahead then.
Yeah, I don't believe that you are giving people accurate data. I think you're picking the most nebulous, dissembling nonsense and telling people that so that you're not getting people mad at you. I know you want to be reelected. I know you're a theater kid. I know you don't like people being mad at you. But, I mean, you are a theater kid. That's fine. It is. Bro, I was going through the old journal. You're totally in all kinds of community theater. That's being a theater kid, all right? So, yeah, I mean, and I get it. You're Mr. Stevens' point. You want to be liked, but this is something that we can look at the data, we can look at the facts, we can look at reason, and I don't see why you're being so wishy-washy. You should back council. I'm sick of you throwing them under the bus. It's poor leadership, and you and Brandy gin up a bunch of crap together. It's like Fox News. It's bullshit.
Thank you.
So what grants have you written?
I'm sorry, we don't allow interchanges during the public
You said you
comment
could
period.
respond.
I will respond.
All right,
We're
respond.
done.
I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have Vincent.
That'd be no
Lorenzi.
grants then.
Carrie, feel free to see me after the meeting. I'll be happy to explain the dates that the director and I met with the DOT. I'm not sure where you get theater kid, because I played FDR in Annie 2 years ago. That's it. Not a theater kid. Regardless, I would be proud to be a theater kid. Mr. Moresi, you have 15 and 13, right?
Mr. Mayor, excuse me, isn't she not supposed to state her name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry, I can do that for you. It's Carrie Ryan, and it looks like 1003 Fifth Avenue, is that correct?
Sure.
Thank you.
Is that the, okay, and Stevens Point. We don't know if that's true or not. 13 and 15, Vinny, right? Where's Vinny? I saw him back there. Okay. 15. Normally we have these in numeric order. 15, 15, 15, 15, 15. 8 and 16, Mary McComb.
I wanted to speak on item.
We need you up here.
I want to speak
We-
on
we
item
need you up here.
15, but
Oh, you had 16.
on the agenda.
You had
That's
you-
B51.
Just as 15.
Oh, that's 816 for the date. B51 proposal, so it is item 15. My apologies, I was looking at the date. I thought it was 8 and 16 you want to speak on. So 15, city IT. Fred, what do you want to speak on? Well, I don't know, it says city IT. What does that mean? We don't have an agenda item
Something
for.
that came up, I haven't heard.
I think this is probably it, since we don't have an agenda item. These are all 15. There's
There's something I've been wondering about. It was in the newspaper, came up, I haven't heard nothing on it. This deal in regard to David Shore messing around at the polling place. It's against the law, he didn't follow that. I haven't heard nothing, I'm wondering what's happening.
I can offer an update
Thank you, Fred.
in response.
We
normally
normally don't interact, but if Fred is done, I'll allow you to respond.
Yeah, a complaint was made to the Wisconsin Election Commission. And it was dismissed as not having grounds.
I disagree with that because.
Brad?
Well, that's fine, but
We're not gonna interact here. If you don't like the answer, you can contact Alderperson Shore or
I'm not
Clerk
gonna.
Yenter outside of the meeting. We good?
I talked to people at the polling place, they were zero for respect, and they didn't get it.
Understood. Thank you. Keith Kudrowski.
Good evening, everybody. Boy, usually I'm the fun one, but it's been off an interesting start. Thank you, everybody, for voting for this referendum. I'm sorry, not thanking you because you're the reason. You just didn't listen. We'll talk more about when we get to there. And just one more thing, I wanted to assure Attorney Beveridge that it is legal by Wisconsin open meetings laws to have this open comment section because he is concerned that we shouldn't be allowed to talk, which would make no sense in open meetings. But that's all. We'll see you in 14 items.
Thank you, Keith. Just for the record, I don't think the city attorney says we couldn't do it.
He said he didn't
Generally,
know.
we don't have to do it.
He took me 30 seconds to find that answer, and he's our attorney.
Bob Larson.
Good evening, Bob Larson, 3283 Lindbergh Avenue, Stevens Point. I brought this up a couple months ago, Mayor, about running a test example from Pat Street to 4th Avenue, using the inside lanes as turn lanes and the outside lanes as the driving lanes. The city council and the past mayor made a $50 million mistake by taking ownership of Business 51. Let's not make another $50 million mistake. Why can't we do a test? You got the paint machine, let's use it. Got barrels, let's use it. Let's do a 13-week test on this thing. And then we'll know once and for all, is it workable or is it not workable? When I was in business years ago, if we weren't sure of an item, we'd put it on the test market. And this would be a good one to test. It could save us $50 million. So once it's done, I don't think we want to spend another $50 million and tearing it up. So I'd appreciate looking at it again to run a test on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Director Badun is in the other room. Director, you and I had talked about this before. Could you maybe come in and have Bob maybe step outside? You could explain to him what you had told me regarding testing the road with striping or barrels. Next up, Kevin Flatoff.
Kevin Flatoff, Southside Business Association, Gold Key Motors, Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Thank you, Mayor. For people that were maybe not paying close attention to what recently went on with the referendum, I just want to kind of break it down to simplify it for everybody. As business owners on the Business 51 corridor, if we do nothing at all, it becomes a two-lane road diet. That was made pretty clear and evident by our city council and Scott Badun and AECom. The only way for us to address it in a binding manner through a referendum was to create an ordinance in the city of Stevens Point requiring road projects over $1 million to go to a binding referendum. If we were to address Business 51 by itself, it would be an advisory referendum and nothing more. What an advisory referendum is, everybody, it takes a vote of the people and it simply advises the city council on which direction they could head. So what that means, if 80% of the people say we do not want a two-lane road diet, the city council can very easily say, we're gonna stick with the two-lane road diet, that's the direction we want to head. That would have been a total waste of our time. So people understand, please, that we hired legal counsel that is very good at municipal law. They wrote up this referendum for a reason. And what we have now is at least until August of 2024, the city council cannot move forward on Business 51 without taking it to a binding referendum. That gives us some protection. Without it, we have none. Why did we do it now instead of waiting if they're not gonna set a shovel in the ground until maybe 2024? Well, we are good through August of 2024. Okay? So, let's hope we can work together. City council, citizens of Stevens Point, and businesses. It's important to everybody. We need to make a road that works. So I hope everybody understands the purpose of the referendum and why we did it and the way we did it. It was the only way to protect us from getting stuck with the two-lane road that many across Portage County, to be frank, this is bigger than a city issue, because I'm out there and I hear it all day long. Portage County doesn't want this road. They want a 4-lane road. They want safe, efficient travel. Thank you for your time, Mayor.
Thank you. Next up, Keith Bisek?
Bezak.
Bizak.
Yeah,
Keith, you're up.
thanks. No way.
Keith Bezak, 301 4th Avenue, Stevens Point. I wanted to address the issue of community education, specifically on the referendum, or using the referendum as an example. I think, it's pretty clear that the referendum was confusing to a lot of people. Even now, after it's been voted on, we're still getting explanations from, non-experts on what the referendum actually does. And I put the lack of community education on you. The fact that we knew nothing about, that the city presented nothing in terms of actually explaining the complexities of the referendum is shameful. That you would let a referendum like this happen is fine, but without stepping forward to allow the community the chance to learn about it, to learn about the serious consequences of such a thing is potentially disastrous. I watched your transportation video with Scott Badoon, happened on, I think, July 21st. Me and 40 other people have seen that. All right, 40. I couldn't find any other resources that explain the referendum. And in that video, you actually don't even mention the referendum. Once again, leaving us, the people of the city, to just kind of read a yard sign and get an idea of what the referendum is supposed to be. I understand that it's important for citizens to educate themselves, but on a referendum like this that was, complexly written, very confusing, that should have been the exact moment for the city to step forward and to educate the public. As it got closer and closer, you did a transportation video, but you could see the signs in people's yards. They were very confusing on both sides, and it got more and more confusing. That is a sign that the people do not know what is going on. It's not that the community is divided. It's that the community is lacking information, and you should lead by educating people. If you care about the people that you say you represent, you should educate them, arm them with information, rather than trying to play both sides, taking a step back, as you're suggesting, taking a breath. We need to step forward. We need to encounter all the passion that's been put forward for this referendum, rather than take a back seat on it, which is what the city did and left us floundering until the election actually happened. And you can clearly see that it's very confusing, because it's clearly divided.
Thank you. Keith, just as a suggestion, because we're always looking for ways to improve.
Great.
What would have been appropriate? What would have?
I think you could have had, many public forums.
Okay.
I think you could have had signs, even, signage, whether it's at you don't do signs?
Well, so here's the thing, and I'm gonna
Just a suggestion.
step on the side here. We did interviews. We had a website. We had the video, which I didn't even see how many people saw it. But those were the ways that we tried. the city doesn't get to take a stance on whether you should vote for or against something.
You don't have to.
But it's very hard to put something on a sign that would cover all the complexities of the referendum question. So I'm looking for,
I'm
public
sure-
forums have
yeah.
been great. We
Right.
could have probably done some more of
There are
those.
many ways to present information without taking a side. You know, there are many ways to break information down, legalese,
Yep.
that, you know, means nothing to the public unless you're really interested in diving in and have a resource to break it down. You know, the city can make signs, can talk to people, can go out in the public, can go to different neighborhoods, talk to people, hold different meetings. I mean, there are many endless ways to engage with the public and share information. So,
Nope, I appreciate the suggestions. You're right. That is absolutely on me.
okay.
If we fell short, and that's on me.
I know we can always call, and that seems to be the
Lots of people
suggestion.
did.
But there's a lot of people that don't call, or even don't even know what to ask. There are plenty of people who didn't even vote on the referendum. They voted, you know, but they didn't either turn it over, because ballots are already confusing, or they did turn it over and read it and they realized, I don't know what I'm voting for. And so they just didn't vote. And so that's why we see a 31, if that was the final vote, 31 vote difference. You know, there's still like 600 some people that potentially didn't even vote. And then, you know, the thousands of people that didn't even come to the polls, which, you know, that's their choice, but.
That's another problem unto itself, but you are absolutely right. We could
gotta
have-
educate the public.
There's always ways to improve any plan. Nothing should be set in stone. So I
That's not
like.
what I'm saying. I'm not saying something.
You
should
wanted me
be-
to improve communication. I agree with you.
Yeah,
I'm
nothing,
gonna
I'm
do
not
my
talking
best
about setting anything in
improve
stone.
communication.
Nothing was set in stone. No effort was made. Nothing was even etched in stone. The stone wasn't even there.
Okay.
There was nothing for us to engage with. We were left alone to duke it out amongst ourselves. Let the battles between people, to all the politics come out. We were left alone with it. And now we have to deal with it. These like $1 million decisions are now on the onus of the people. And we're just gonna like throw up our hands and say, well, it shouldn't have come to this. But how did it come to this? And we knew for months what this referendum question was about. And nothing happened. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Morrow.
Yes, I wanted to talk about this item, item specifically item 616. I like it at the front of the meeting. That's what I wanted to really say. I think if we have it at the end, it's going to cause a lot of problems. And one of the things I've said before, one of the biggest problems that a lot of folks feel is that we don't listen. And if we put this at the end of our meeting, which tonight will probably go pretty long, a lot of folks are going to be more upset. A lot of feelings are going to be frayed. And as long as I've been on city council for about the past 10 years, we've always had it at the very front. And I think that's where it should really stay.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more.
Thank you.
And lastly, Brock Maddox.
We got 3 minutes here. My name is Brock Maddox, 5421 Monroe Avenue, Plover, Wisconsin. I'm the president of the Freedom Fighters of Central Wisconsin. Today, I come to talk to you as a citizen and as an American. And I encourage everybody to listen to what I got to say here. I started working out in Stevens Point here. Everybody knows, done a lot of efforts here in Stevens Point, went throughout the state. Ended up getting hired by Michael Flynn, working with the Trump administration. And I've been doing that for about 6 months. Wasn't a favorable thing to do. I took a lot of heat for it. Somebody had to do it because somebody had to figure out what I know. And I come to you today as an American citizen, and I thank each and every one of you guys for being here today, to fulfilling your duty to our country. So I give each and every one of you a round of applause, because it is not easy in these times that we're living in. Things are very bad, and they're going to get much, much worse. And, you know, you hear people bashing us for election integrity around this nation. I can tell you here in the state of Wisconsin, we have 6 races that were stolen from candidates. And I have some of the most highly trained individuals on a team right now picking it apart, and the numbers do not match up. And I'm hearing this, and I'm on a state director's call, which she is on right now with the Flynn team. And I'm seeing the same things all around the United States, in every state. Every state. And what I'm gonna say to you right now, you can believe me or not, but I encourage you to believe me. This is a uniparty. They are working together to steal our elections. We are not free anymore, people. We are not free anymore. And if we do not get off the couch right now as Americans on both sides of this aisle, we will never see freedom again. We will never see freedom again. It's much, much worse than we can all imagine. And I encourage everybody to love each other enough to get off the couch and come together and end this division. They want us fighting, you guys, so they can implement what is the last 2 years that we've been through is child's play compared to what's coming. I encourage each and every one of us to have these conversations, end the division, and come together as Americans. Not as Republicans and Democrats, but as Americans. Freedom-loving Americans. If we can unite on anything, it must be freedom. It must be freedom. If our children cannot experience freedom, I can't see living in a country where my children does not know what freedom is all about.
Thank you, Brock.
So, thank you.
All right, that exhausts, I believe, item number 16. Was there anyone that I missed?